So a few days ago we did the 2024 US election with no Democrat Party, and today we do the opposite. Republican Party is not here. We got RFK, we got Green, we got the Constitution Party. We'll go through this all, explain why some parties are on here, some parties aren't, like Libertarian. Really don't see any purpose for them. Don't think they'd win anyway, because the problem, what we had last time, was the vote splitting between RFK, Green, Libertarian. So it kind of became a little bit difficult to see any left wing party winning. This time, it's you got the Democrats on the left, Green are left, but because Democrat dominate that subsection, I don't know if Green are going to win anything, and RFK on the centre left, really, and then Constitution as the far right party. So we'll look through the third party candidates. So you got Libertarian. Really, no point in having them on here. I don't think they win a significant percentage of any vote. Kennedy on there, Jill Stein, Green Party, and then you've got this far left party, but again it's left, so it's not getting much of the vote. Cornel West, another left, and then we got the Constitution Party, and then you got a couple more left wing ones down here. So this would be given the Constitution Party runs in every state, which of course right now they don't, and it would be saying that the Green Party runs in every state, which right now they don't, and that Kennedy runs in every state, which right now he doesn't. So that is the situation. So we'll go through the map, and we will. Where should we start? So we can start in Texas. I think Texas goes blue, probably by a significant margin, maybe 10-9-8 over Kennedy. Green really not really a factor down there. Maybe Constitution Party could get upwards of 8% of the vote, maybe, but I think that's about it. So the Deep South, that's where I want to look first, because RFK obviously he's very interesting on his policies. So he's anti-vaccine, which a lot of these Deep South states are, or all of them, but he's pro-abortion, so that could be a massive turn-off for these people. But would they vote Democrat, or would they just swallow the abortion sort of issue and just bite the bullet and take it and just say, okay, this is the closest thing we're going to get? Because Constitution Party, you don't really know anything about them. So obviously this is a fictional scenario, so it's kind of, you can make whatever situations you want out of it, but maybe RFK does take a couple of these states. So Louisiana, if we go to 538, actually we can have a quick look. So Louisiana, Kennedy had himself up 17 against Biden. So obviously these are Kennedy polls, but we're going to have to favour the third parties in this scenario because we want an interesting race. So let's go here. We say Kennedy thinks he's up 17, and he is fair in some of these polls that got released in April. So maybe you give it to him on that's Mississippi. Maybe you give it to him on a lean. I've clicked Mississippi again. So we can go straight to Mississippi then, since it clearly wants to be picked. Again, has himself way up, so he clearly thinks this people in the Deep South are willing to accept the abortion issue. Again, Arkansas puts himself up significantly. If we go to Florida, I don't know if he'd have done one in Florida. He does, and he says he's up by 7, so he tends to think he's beaten Biden by some margin, which Biden was very unpopular in April, but if that was the case, he'd be getting way more than he is right now in terms of percentage of the vote. So if we say Mississippi, I think could be another lean. Alabama, where's he got himself? He's got himself up 27 over Biden. we'll give it to him as well. Probably on a safe at that point, because they're clearly very against Democrat. Even though 38%, that's not. Mm, maybe you could make that a lean. I don't know. I feel like these people are quite polarized, and that's a 60% right wing rather than a maybe a 10% of moderates undecided. It's mostly people that are pretty solid on their position. Georgia, I don't think Kennedy would have polled there. Maybe he has done. I don't know how many he's done them in. A lot of Georgia polls. A lot of Georgia polls to go through. He has done one, and he says he's up 4. So realistically, he's probably down. Green Party again, no presence. We don't need to factor them in right now. Maybe Georgia gets more votes. MTG's from there. So maybe there's some sort of following down there. Constitution, but again, you're looking at what 10-15%, and they don't have any direct impact on any of these parties out here. Maybe more RFK than Democrat, but I think with Harris on the ballot, you probably take Georgia with the black vote. Probably on a lean, to be honest. Again, realistic scenario, these are probably all safe Democrat, but this is not the realistic scenario. So Florida, a big one. So what are we at right now? 56-23. So Kennedy's really needing Florida right here. He's at +7. So what I wanted to look at on here. So we'll go through Florida first. I think you give it to the Democrat. I mean, what are they polling at? 45, 44, 47, 46. Yeah, and these people are probably more leaning towards Trump because his residency's there, and there's a lot of Hispanic people there that maybe have flip-flopped and would be willing to vote Democrat over someone like a Kennedy, who's just an independent. So you probably give it there. And then Tennessee is one that you could maybe give to RFK. So I've got Native American United States figures up here, and here's why. Because Kennedy mentions about the Native Americans on his policies, and I thought that's really interesting, and I can't seem to find it on here. Native Americans, okay. So he mentions it on there. So I thought, okay, we'll take a look at Native Americans. Alaska, they've got a massive presence. Oklahoma, they've got a fairly moderate presence. New Mexico and South Dakota. But then, reading more into it, of course, I mean, I kind of assumed so, but they really don't vote. They are literally 51% less likely to vote than your average Caucasian person. So they're really not going to have as much impact. So if they're 20% of the population here, they maybe make up 10% of the electorate, which is that's a fairly big swing, but that's not a game changer in pretty much any of these states. I mean, maybe from North Dakota up, you could say that they might make an impact. And going off these trends, I mean, North Dakota, that might be somewhere around 9% by 2030, so maybe 8% now. Same goes for Alaska at 21.9. You've seen a bit of a recovery there, so maybe maybe Oklahoma could be in the 20s by now. So, maybe you could factor them in. We will go to, where should we go? We'll fill in Arkansas. We'll give that to Kennedy as well. So, South Carolina. I am putting them as leans because I just don't think he's gonna win anything by any more margin than that. So South Carolina, definitely a right-leaning state. I mean, Biden was in the 20s at one point. He was losing to Haley by a massive margin. Obviously, she's from there, so sure. But okay, against Trump, he's at 34, 35. I don't think they're winning that. So I think that would be another chance for Kennedy to get on the board. Again, green are really not an issue at this point. It's in this northeast of the country that you're really going to start to see green come into it. So, North Carolina. I think this is one. Obviously, the Democrats are far more competitive here. It's near Virginia. They're probably gonna be better off. As Kennedy says, he's +10. I'm not so sure. I think that would probably be another likely Democrat, bordering on safe. Because as you can see, they're about 46, 45% now, and then you kind of people that aren't willing to vote for just an independent guy. If RFK had a party set up and it wasn't in his name, then I think that would actually improve his position in this. But that's not the case. So we're at 102 to 49. We'll go to Virginia next, and lots of polls. We've got lots of polls here, and Kennedy says he's +5 against Biden. I don't buy it. I think Virginia would be. I mean, what is Harris at now? 41. Kennedy's doing all right there. Then right now, 43, 40, 41. No, maybe not so safe then. Maybe another likely. I mean, there's a lot of likelies on here. We need to get some competitive ones, some real competitive ones. West Virginia, okay. I guess Kennedy's done every state then. I mean, Biden's nowhere. Biden is nowhere in West Virginia. So you could give this to Kennedy. That's probably safe. And go to Kentucky again. But he's just winning these small states, which are obviously, Democrats are not going to invest in West Virginia. So it's just an easy pickup. Kentucky's another one. I think he takes that by a safe margin. And then we could either go northeast or west. We'll go northeast. Let's make this a closer race than maybe it is. DC obviously is not going to go to Kennedy. It's going to go to the Democrats. I think Connecticut goes to the Democrats. I think Rhode Island. These places are a lot more establishment based. Massachusetts. So I think that the Democrats do a lot better here. New York, I think they win significantly. New Jersey, I think they win decisively. Maryland, I think they win decisively. Delaware, they probably win decisively as well. This is where the Green Party comes into it a bit, I guess. But again, I think Democrats are just way too popular up here. We've got Vermont, New Hampshire. Okay, so if we go over to Vermont, Kennedy's again dropped us a poll, and he's got Biden up. And you got to remember, this is Biden probably at near his worst polls, and Kennedy's going to favour himself. So Vermont is probably safe, even when you include Green Party in that. New Hampshire, Kennedy has polled himself at +6, and if you're saying the Green Party, is going to get a bigger share, maybe because people on the left maybe will vote far further left. Obviously, Green Party, maybe you could say they're not far left, but the people on the sort of left, the left, not the centre left, the left, are more likely to maybe go further left a little bit more, just to sort of balance it out in some sort of way. So, would Green take a significant enough amount off of? They're still awaiting to be put on the ballot in that state, but still think it's a fairly comfortable win. I mean, what are they polling at? 52, 50? I mean, if they're at 50, maybe 60%, then that would be a safe margin. Maybe, okay, leave it at likely. And then you got Maine, which Kennedy's got himself up by 18. Sure, if he thinks so. I guess that would be mostly from the 2nd district. Okay. Or the 2nd district. So I think Democrats obviously win the 1st district, and then Can RFK win this district? I think at large it goes blue as well. Probably safe in that department. And then you're looking at ME2. What is Biden and Harris's polling in ME2? Oh wow, that's close. See, this Biden was allegedly at 28, 25, and now Harris is at 40, 49. Okay. Again, this was a lot closer, and now... right. Probably gonna go Kennedy, I think. Because those polls are pretty funky. Maybe this is far left voters. This is, 15 points higher than Biden. Wow. Okay. Pennsylvania. So obviously, a lot of funding going into Pennsylvania from the Democrats. They're allegedly, well, Quinnipiac. Okay, so they're. Where are the objective polls on here? 44%. Okay, so yeah, that would be pretty much safe. Ohio. So you've got Tim Walz on the ticket. He has some sway in these states. Kennedy was allegedly way up. Harris has kind of, clawed back a little bit. Still, it's a strong Trump lead. So you're probably looking at a Democrat win. Maybe not so safe, but probably likely. Unfortunately for Kennedy, if Kennedy had it his own way if these polls were to be believed, I think Kennedy would probably win in this scenario. So we have, where have we gone? Indiana, which is definitely a right-wing state, and so you're probably gonna give it to Kennedy. Maybe because again these right-wing voters are just gonna have to let the abortion issue slide and just say, okay, we just have to accept this. So Kennedy's down on Biden in Illinois. I think Illinois would go safe to the Democrats anyway, and they're 10 points away from winning. So California is going to be an interesting one. So we have Michigan. Michigan is, that's pretty much certain. That's going to be a Democrat win over Mr. Kennedy. Wisconsin is another one Wisconsin, Minnesota. Are there any more we could fill in here? So, okay, so maybe Nebraska 2nd District, New Mexico, Colorado, and Nevada, and Hawaii. Okay, so I think all of those go to the Democrats. Alaska, obviously we've got the Native Americans up there. You've got maybe more anti-establishment sentiment. Probably goes to Kennedy. Again, it's just a case of, are these states willing to accept the abortion issue? Because North Dakota is a right-wing state. That is a Kennedy win, because he is the right-wing candidate in this case, and maybe he'd change some of his policies to sort of accommodate these people. If he was serious about winning the election, he'd maybe have to compromise a little bit. Nebraska at large, you're looking at Kennedy said he's up 12, so maybe it's probably a little bit closer than that, but again, I think it'd probably be closer in that 1st district. I think he'd win it. I think he'd actually win the state. Iowa, so he could crack 100 here. He could definitely crack 100 without California, which we'll get to. I think, we'll get to it. Iowa, I don't think there's any question about Iowa. It will go, maybe not though. I don't know. Again, another strange one. I think I'd probably lean Democrat because there was talk about it going blue and blue in 2020, and it didn't. So But even that there was talk about it, it means they can be competitive there, and I don't think Kennedy would have so much of a chance. Missouri, ooh, tough one. Ah, maybe. Well, Trump's at 49. Kennedy was doing pretty well here. He still is. So he's got some popularity down here, and you're eliminating all of the right wing, and you're basically taking them all in. Maybe they just wouldn't turn out, but I'd say in this situation, they're turning out. Right. So Kansas. This would be a really close one. Maybe Democrat. Maybe I'd lean Democrat or tilt even, because what are you at? 37, 36, 39%. Well, that's against DeSantis. 41 back here. I mean, this is 2023, so I mean, Kennedy is the most recent poll. Again, I really don't know. Really not sure. Really tough one. Probably would lean Democrat when it comes down to it. Oklahoma. This is another one where we got to consider the Native American population down here. Biden's in the gutter. He was in April at least. So I think this is a pretty safe Kennedy win, and he's crossed 103. So good for him. Montana is, so Democrats are doing better here than you'd maybe expect. 38, 39. Maybe it's a close race. Maybe it leans. I think if it's going to be a close race, I think when people come down to it, this is off polling. When people come down to vote, I think they end up going Kennedy. I mean, Wyoming's a Kennedy wipeout. Idaho is another Kennedy wipeout. I mean, these states are just completely Republican, so you'd hope they'd rebel against the Democrats in this situation. Once again, I mean, Kennedy is zooming in Utah. By these polls, he's like competitive. He's actually competitive for second place. So he wins Utah. And that's without, obviously, the Republican vote. So he when you factor that in, and a lot of these people are going to go to RFK before they go to Democrats. So RFK 116 is not bad. It's definitely not bad at all. Arizona definitely goes blue. I want to look at Kennedy's polls here. I'm fascinated by his polling. We go to April. So he had himself up 18. Okay, well, again, this was sort of a real trough for Biden at this point. He was struggling. And Kennedy's, he was doing alright here, and now they've kind of flushed him out with more spending and spending more time there. Chase Oliver was doing pretty well here as well. But I think it's pretty. It'd be okay. You could put it as likely. California. This is the big one. This is the important one. Can Kennedy win California? Let's look at Kennedy's polls. He had himself down 11. So, and this is his home state. This is the his vice president Shanahan's Cole. That's because it's Nicole Shanahan. This is Shanahan's home state. So. But if he has them down by that much, and again, this was at Biden's worst time, I don't think they have a chance. I really don't. Maybe, I mean, even Trump's at 30% now, 35. So, I don't know. I don't see it. Oregon, maybe you could get some of those anti-establishment voters to turn out, but I'm not so sure. So again, you do have to consider that Democrats may defect to Kennedy if he becomes a serious candidate for the presidency and the only other option. So they maybe wouldn't stick at 49, 52-ish%. He was doing really well in Oregon, and now he's again got close to the election. He's fallen off, which is what you can expect. Oregon, maybe he could get it within 10, but I really don't know. It is moving right a little bit, but I'm not so sure that he'd take that out. And then you got Washington, another one that he was doing quite well in before, and he had it even, and now again it's shrunk because that's how it works coming to election day. So Washington's probably safe, and that's what you're looking at, a 422 to 116 victory. I want to see if you can search Kennedy polls, which you can't. I'd like to, or can you? You can. Aha. So we're going to go to all, and we're going to go Kennedy, and we're going to go to his polls because I want to go based off him. I want to know what he's saying, and we can then make a map off that. So we will work our way down to April, which is where Kennedy produced his polls. Again, this is very outdated. This would be Joe Biden at his worst. This would be Harris at her worst. Here we go. So he's got himself winning in, that's overall. Wyoming, win. So we can clear this map out. So he's got himself winning Wyoming. I think if I were to make a prediction now, he'd probably win this. I could do this. I could have done this as a separate video, but you know what? I'll treat it as 2 videos in one. So we will eliminate all of these states. We'll leave Wyoming because we know the result of that one. 3 points on the board for Kennedy. Wisconsin, he's got himself up. So that's interesting. West Virginia, he's got himself up. I mean, all of the right-wing states, he's going to have himself up. Washington, he's got it even. Okay, we'll leave that one then. We'll come back to it. Virginia, he's got himself up. Alright, Vermont, he's losing. He's admitted defeat in Vermont. What a gracious guy. Utah, of course, he's going to have a massive win there. Texas, he's got himself up by a massive margin. Tennessee, he is winning. Oh my goodness. Well, he's already at 87. South Dakota, he's winning. We know North Dakota, he's winning. South Carolina, he's winning. Rhode Island, he's winning. Wow. Okay. That's certainly interesting. Pennsylvania, he's got himself losing. So the Democrats are at 22. Oregon, he's got himself winning. Wow. Oklahoma, Ohio, North Dakota, South Carolina, Oklahoma, Ohio, North Dakota, North Carolina. Wow. Okay. New York, he's got it even. If it's even, it's probably Democrat. Let's just be real with ourselves here. New Jersey, he's got himself losing. New Mexico's got himself winning. New Hampshire, he's got himself winning. So he loses New Jersey, wins New Hampshire, wins New Mexico. Nevada, Nebraska, Montana, Missouri. Nevada, Nebraska, Montana. We'll say he just takes all of it. My goodness, this would be a landslide. Mississippi, Minnesota, loses Michigan. So Minnesota, Mississippi. I've done that in reverse order. Loses Michigan. Okay. So there's a chance for the Democrats to come back. Biden wins Massachusetts. This is a big win. 11 points on the board. He's got Maryland. He's got the Democrats. Oh my goodness. This is really closing up now. Maine. Okay. He's got himself wiping the board. Love that for him. He's approaching Louisiana, Kentucky. Oh, okay. So he's within striking distance. We've still got some right-leaning parties to go. States. Kansas, Iowa, Indiana. Oh my goodness, Kansas, Iowa, Indiana. He's so close. Illinois. Oh, how gracious. And he wins Idaho. I don't think he's got himself losing in this situation. Hawaii, he's got himself up. Georgia, he's got himself up. Florida, he's got himself up. Oh my goodness. Well, this is... And he's won the election by this point. Delaware, he's down. Connecticut, he's down. California, he's down. Wow. I mean, this is outrageous. This board. He's got himself winning Colorado because, I mean, of course he does. He's losing California, but he's got himself winning Colorado. Make it make sense. Arkansas, Arizona, Alaska, Arkansas, Arizona, Alaska, and we've got Alabama and DC on the board. Of course, he's not going to poll DC. That just makes no sense. He wins Alabama. He definitely would lose DC. There you go. RFK has himself winning at 340 to 198 if it was this scenario. Wow. I mean, unbelievable. Just look at that map. But anyway, okay. Wow, really interesting. In the other scenario, obviously the Democrats wipe the floor with him. Realistically, he'd probably win maybe 5 or so states. It depends on the abortion thing, really, and how willing people are to just ignore that, whether they turn out or not. But overall, again, same scenario as the Republican side. There's no chance they'd lose.